Okay, I think everybody is here, huh? Yeah. Okay, so we will have the first question for you. So we just had the input from Werner, and the first question is: was there anything that surprised you or made you think, or that you were particularly thankful to hear? So from Werner input. So maybe we can start with Christine.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yes. Okay, so thanks a lot for the opportunity. Yeah, I'm Christian Vorer from CBM, Switzerland, and I was listening to this talk from or interview from our guest, and I was very happy to hear that he was talking also about inclusion, since CBM is an organization for disability inclusion in the whole world. I was surprised to hear that some elements he mentioned are already done in our project, for example, the advocacy part, or then the advocacy to the local and national government to get funds for education, or the accessibility part, so to make a classroom or the education system accessible for the most people possible, so also for persons with disabilities, for children with special needs, or whatever, for different kind of children and people.
Thanks a lot, Christian. Brigit, please.
Yes, good morning to everyone. My name is Brigit. I'm from the Pestalozzi Children's Foundation. Thank you very much for this opportunity as well. I think there were many things that I'm thankful to hear. It's always good to rethink the right to education and look at it from different angles. No, it's easy to fall back into old habits and do what we think is appropriate or what we think is needed, which is more the development approach, according to what Werner said. No, and what I think is specifically important for me, what he stated on the what is a statement of the Global Campaign for Education, that education cannot survive if education cannot transform constantly its aims and its ways to deliver. We need to be very alert on that at all times and listen to the participants, stakeholders, and see how the world is developing, to be always on top of the issues. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Brigit. Now we can listen to Christine.
Thank you very much. I'm Christine from Forum for African Women Educationalists, FAWE. And to add to what my colleagues said, I'm also very, very glad that you talked about education needs to transform, because both the national and the global education landscape keeps changing. For example, last time the gap we talked about, or which FAWE brought to fore, was the gap about the education for pregnant girls. Education for pregnant girls is a human right, but do we really have this fully incorporated into the development agenda? And I also thought when he spoke about human rights and said that education helps to bring other human rights to fore, like the rights of children, the rights of people with disability. But the question which I would like to throw back to all of us is that if they asked us about human rights violations, would education violations come top of the agenda? Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Christina. And we can listen to Denis or Jean-Marie or both.
Denis, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. This is Denis speaking. I'm working as an inclusion advisor with CBM Switzerland. So thank you very much, Christine, for that remark with regard to human rights violation. Are we thinking about education as well? Yeah, that's a good point. One point I really liked about the input before was that he mentioned the need of capacity building when we talk about human rights-based approach. So capacity building, capacity strengthening is, from my understanding of a human rights-based approach, very basic. So that so both parts, duty bearers, rights holders, understand their rights and understand their obligations. So I would limit it to that input from my side at the moment. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Denis. Jean-Marie, do you want to add something?
Yes. I just wanted to ask the following. When we had our forum in last November, I think we had a working group on a special topic. It means the right of LGBTs, because of in the framework of fighting discrimination, and among people who are subjected to a lot of discrimination in the society are the LGBT people, So if we think of education in terms of inclusion, to what extent, in our education system, we take into account also the right of a category of people, the LGBTs. So how do we, in our educational system, we give the opportunity to learners to take that into account so that in the way they behave, they don't exclude the educational system, does not contribute to exclude a significant part of the population. So that's, in that sense, the right-based approach is very important in the presentation that Werner made. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jean-Marie. So now we'll have a second round of questions, more about your own activities. And the questions are, what is the significance of the fact that education is recognized as a basic human right in many conventions and treaties for your work? And are you using the rights-based approach in your work? And if yes, how? So again, we can start with Christian.
Yes, we are talking about SDG 4, the right to education, to inclusive and quality education for all. And this is definitely part of our work because we work right-based, the rights of persons with disabilities in the International Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. So this means that we want to make the spaces inclusive. We want to remove barriers which hinder persons with disabilities or impairments from participating in society. And education is one element of participating in society. If a child who is maybe cannot walk due to a disability, this child has a right to go to school, even if he or she cannot walk. The system must be made accessible. The schools must be made accessible for all children, because this is the right of every child to education, to inclusive and quality education for all.
Thanks a lot, Christian. Brigit?
Yes, to work within the legal framework of the human rights, of course, it's very important for us to work as well, and also within the national education framework, which we need to consider, which is sometimes quite challenging if the national education framework maybe is not consistent with the international legal framework. Maybe we can say in the terms of language, that the right to learn in the mother tongue maybe is not in the national legal framework, or it is there, but there is no policy, or there is no finances allocated to that right. So it's the right is there, but it's not really existent. And on the other hand, it's also very important for us to make a needs assessment in a participatory way before we start the project. And in order to not do what is considered appropriate by us, because we think other organizations think they are experienced and they have a lot of experience, but because it's a right, and also to listen to the stakeholders and participants, what is really their need in that specific case.
Thanks a lot, Brigit. Christina, please.
Thank you. I think it's very important to recognize education as a human right for all children, not just, children who are convenient to our development agenda. And the way we work is that we look at the different levels. There's the level of the policy makers, where you need to see, are we interpreting and also getting the conventions, which are sometimes really non-binding to the state parties, and incorporating them or integrating them into our national systems the way that they should be done. So there's that part where we do policy advocacy at that level to ensure that we are working with the ministries of education in different countries to ensure that in the first place, we have favorable policy frameworks, we have supportive budgets, because even with very good written laws, if we don't have the support, I remember the keynote speaker talking about 97% of the budget should be domestic. And those are some of the issues which we look at, saying it's a human right, but do we have the frameworks? Do we have what takes it beyond rhetoric into action? And to me, that is very important at national government level, at the institutional level, right down to the individual level.
Thanks a lot, Christina. And please, Denis.
Thank you. This is Denis speaking. So I would break it down. Also, the question: are you applying a human rights-based approach? And so I would break it down to like 5 points, which are also based on the definition of the United Nations of the human rights-based approach, and Werner also mentioned that. So, do we really assure participation of the rights holders in designing our projects, for example? Then, do we link our activities to the right? If it is not a national right, or if the application on national level is not yet done, we can link it to that international level. And a third point now, if we link our activities to that right, we can be held account to what we are doing. So that's very important. So what he mentioned, it's not just a private interest that we are pursuing, but it is a right which is considered as an international law. So this holds us, this strengthens the accountability. The non-discrimination is another point, and then as a last point, the empowerment that I already mentioned of the rights holders, and also the duty bearers, that they can really make sure that our activities aim to that right, and this should at the end lead to the transformation of a social norm. So I think these elements, if we pursue these elements, yes, then we are doing our work based on the human rights. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Denis. Jean-Marie, please.
Maybe just a small anecdote. In 2004, I made a speech in South Africa. It was at the Adult Learners Week, and the question was, how do we use literacy adult literacy to meet the needs of the entire society. So what I was saying, maybe before I just talk about this anecdote, we know that in some countries in the world, like Uganda, homosexuals are condemned to death penalty. We know that in Russia also, homophobia is used today, as a national strategy in the war, etc., different things, So when I refer to what Christine said, the policy, the national strategies, now I come back to what I was saying. So in 2004, I was saying, referring to the African continent, I say that the African continent is composed of different races, composed of people belonging to different religions. And I even mentioned, the sexual orientation. And my question was, how do we, elaborate policies and strategies that empower the whole society so that people accept the difference. And I was not talking, I say, I don't like the word tolerance. Tolerance means, okay, you are not like me, you are not normal, but I still tolerate you. But I was mentioning acceptance. So how do we provide education so that the learners accept the difference among the society? Whether you belong to another religion, whether you belong to another race, and whether you belong also to another group, today called LGBT, it means critical thinking, it means information about the differences, etc. So this is a big challenge that we are facing today when we refer to people who don't belong to the same religion, to the same race, and then also to the same, in quote, sexual orientation. So I will stop there.
Thanks a lot, Jean-Marie, and also thanks for sharing this anecdote. So I'm not sure there are questions in the chat. Not okay. So I think we'll stop here because of the time. So many thanks to the panelists for their rich contributions and for introduction these days.